the topic of today's discussion, which is the Bartan Company. I'm very passionate about this, and I have made a very small deck just for people to have visuals of what I'm talking about. I will share that now. Just a moment. Okay. Okay, are we able to see? Is everybody able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So simultaneously, I cannot have the view of the people, right?
Yeah, that's the limitation of Google Meet. Yes.
Right. Okay, we'll make do. So Bartan Company is what I'm going to be focused around today, and so we will start with a small story, a small story that everybody would be able to relate to. So this is a typical big fat Indian wedding scene that most of us would be familiar with. We keep attending weddings all the time. I mean, people who are localites, I think they have so many weddings lined up in February, right? So when you go to a wedding, so this is a very high profile, maybe big budget wedding. Okay, now the kind of weddings that we conduct or we are a part of are both combination of like high profile weddings, like weddings with low budgets, etc. Now what is this? I mean, what do you think goes behind the wedding, right? So minimum budget. Okay, so when we attend a wedding, we do not consider these things, but since we are talking about wedding as an event and where we are being a part of in a very different way, so we look at weddings, I decided to break it down for you all. So in a typical wedding, the decor, so the picture that you just saw must be anywhere between 5 lakh plus. Okay, so for a very minimalistic, low budget wedding, the decor would cost, the starting cost would be around ₹1 lakh. Catering per person around 500 rupees. Venue, okay, the venue cost. I mean, the bigger the venue, bigger the cost. If it's a 5-star hotel, it could be around 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs plus. Jewelry, again, jewelry is something that people buy during weddings because it's an investment and stuff like that. So I have just been very lenient in putting just 2 lakhs there, but it's always more. Dress, like a typical bridal dress, is very expensive. People wear it just once and just keep it there, it just lies there for years. It's around ₹1 lakh. Gifts, the return gifts that people give. So in many of the weddings that you'd have gone to, you'd have received return gifts, or a combination of maybe tambulams or special things that people want to give away. So the budget part for minimum, 1 lakh. Photographers, so photographers, again, you have videographers, you have different types of creative people in that category now, who try to capture moments, create videos, create wedding albums, print them out as books. So many options there. So minimum, I'm being very, very lenient, again, just 50K is what I'm putting as a figure. It can go to any amount. Now, all of these things that you have seen incurs, they have a footprint, right? Decor, catering. So when we talk about an event, our main areas are decor, catering, the venue primarily, and maybe the gifts. So how much, I mean, after I'm wedding my son, for example. I'm keeping a budget for maybe 15-20 lakhs. Okay, very minimalistic budget. How much budget would I be willing to include or park for waste? Zero. Really, that is the scene. So look at this. I mean, okay, I'll just move to the next slide. It's a little funny. So there's an old saying, the shadi matlab barbadi. Now we know what we're talking about. So little do we think what these weddings or these celebrations leave behind. I mean, right from a small birthday party to a event as large scale as a wedding, where for every event, we are making so many memories. But why are we not considering what we are leaving behind? Because this is what is going to stay behind, for not just for mother earth, but for humanity to deal with. The children who are celebrating their birthdays will be the ones who will be dealing with this waste from their own birthday party years later, right? So that was the premise of our whole initiative, where we thought that why should weddings, or why should small celebrations to big celebrations to a marathon to a corporate event, why do these events leave behind so much waste when that could be something which can be easily managed? In fact, as per the solid waste management rules, that the latest one came out in 2016. So in an event, for an event which is more than 100 people. So during the course of our slides, I'll show you a typical event size and how much waste potentially it can generate, right? So any event which has a gathering of more than 100 people, you're required to manage that waste. But it's a different case that the policy making, the policy making bodies and actual implementation bodies and people who are supposed to follow, there are gaps. There are huge gaps among all of these different structures. And it is sad that policies are there, but they're not being implemented, or they're not being followed. So that is exactly where we come in. That is a sweet spot. That is that very niche spot where we come in, So our belief is, as I just, said, that may events leave behind memories, not waste. And I'll show you how we have been, how we started it, and how we where we are right now. So interestingly, I mean, I started with a wedding picture just for you to understand the, yeah, I mean, if think of that picture of that wedding, and now think of this small, humble set of utensils. Okay, so this is exactly where we began. So when I left my corporate career at its peak, to be honest, I did not know that I am going to do this as my career, future career. So I was dabbling with many, different entrepreneurial ideas. I knew that this is my space. I knew the sustainability is my space, but I did not really know what to do, because there are so many new opportunities coming up. There is innovation happening. So for me to really find out, I wanted to dabble with different things before I zero in on that. So while I was at it, my friend and I decided to just launch a small cutlery bank, because we were attending so many home parties back then. I mean, we still do. Home parties are such a thing in, like for our generation, where we have kids and where we cannot always go out to eat, and we end up crashing at one of our friends' houses. So even for these small parties, people, I saw that there was always a pile of waste that was gathering, that included so much of plastic, like so much of disposable plastic. So that is where that idea came, that, okay, we have some time on hand. Let's start a cutlery bank, So the cutlery bank concept is not something that we came up with. It was already there. It was Rent a Cutlery was one of the first organizations in India who started this, cutlery bank concept, where people can take cutlery on rent. Cutlery would typically mean spoons, forks, but it largely includes bowls and tumblers and plates, etc. So I happened to float this idea in one of the WhatsApp groups of my community. And very soon people said, okay, you start and we will give you the money. So people came forward with donations. So 5,000, 10,000 here and there. And when we reached a 30K mark, we went ahead and we bought our set of 30 utensils, 30 set, set of 30. So that is how we started. And initially, to be honest, we were thinking that, okay, we got these, but who will take these? So for our own events, we used to take them, but we were not very sure how to market, because we were not thinking of this as a as a for-profit initiative at all. We were just thinking of this as a stretch, as a social impact initiative that we were just doing. So we're not really focused on how to market the concept or how to really expand the idea. And that is when people started calling us. I mean, word by mouth, it spread, because we had posted about it on Facebook, on Instagram, through our personal handles. And very soon, within a month, we started getting orders, 20 sets, 30 sets. So gradually, I think within the first 6 months, we had scaled twice or thrice. I mean, every time we got an order of, say, 100, we used to buy that 100 sets. 150, we would stretch it to 150. We started scouting around the city for other custody banks we could collaborate with, where we could, if we have a shortage, we can get it from them. So all of these things happened. And we were very, still not sure that, okay, can we think of it in a business way? We were in that mode of doing it as a social initiative, where we were just focused on the impact. So every time we got a call from somebody who is high intent, who wants that, somebody from maybe Sikandrabad or somebody from really, very far from where we are. For that person to spend that time and effort to come all the way to take the utensils, or, for us to send it through Uber and for the person to bear the cost. That was our motivation, because we thought that, okay, some things that we are doing is something that these people have been looking for. So after our launch, it has always been inbound, so everything that happened was very organic. And every time there was a demand, as I said, we scaled. So this is where we were at the end of first year. We had done close to 150 events, or probably more. Plastic disposables diverted from landfills, and these would necessarily mean that these many items of steel were provided instead. So till then, we were exclusively dealing in steel. Tumblers, as you can see the numbers, it was a total of 57,000 plus, close to 60,000. So you can imagine, these small events, which we don't even think about, small housewarming or a small birthday party. Collectively, they have a potential to generate so much waste, which also means collectively they have the potential to save so much waste from the landfills. So yeah, so this happened, so these figures are a testimony that sometimes there may be a business idea which you may not consider to be as a business idea at all, but unless you try it out, if we would have been bogged down by thinking that, oh, will it work, will it not work? So the leap of faith was very important for us at that moment, where we just went ahead and did it, and it just started getting that traction from people. So I put some images here. The first image is when we had collaborated with a music festival of 5 days, Tyagaraja Aradhana Music Festival. It's one of the very big festivals in Telangana. And we were able to turn the entire festival into a zero waste festival, where they participated in the on-site waste management process. Everybody did. And we composted all that waste. So yeah, so that was, I think, we received a very big boost and confidence from that event. And that also marked our shift from steel to biodegradables, I mean, in a combination, because we saw that sometimes reusables become a little resource intensive when it's an event of maybe more than 100, 200 people. So for those kind of events, if there is a challenge of using steel like wash area and other challenges, we thought that we will provide biodegradables. And for those biodegradables, again, we used to test them, we used to look at the certifications, we used to reach out to experts and get all that vetted that they're actually biodegradable, because biodegradable is a very tricky word. Some are industrially compostable, some are compostable under home conditions. So yeah, so we kind of do all that research before we roll out the biodegradable solution. So, and this picture is from our first wedding, which was pre-pandemic again. And we introduced this concept of upar se pio. So upar se pio is not something that we introduced per se, but we practice. So in earlier times, people used to drink like that, like one glass was used by multiple people to drink water. Still, you would see in government offices or at public places, you would see that one glass being chained to a matka or a water filter where people can just drink and keep it there. So it's a very simple concept, but if you look at the impact, so we did this marathon for Hyderabad Bicycling Club, and there were around 2,000 plus people. So potentially 2,000 plus people would use paper cups, which are not biodegradable, by the way. It's a pure disposable and landfill item because it has a layer of plastic inside. And also it is virgin paper that is being used. So potentially 2,000 people marathon would use easily between 2,000 to 4,000 paper cups. But the small intervention of using a steel glass brought down that number to a set of steel glasses of, we had 3 stations, 8 glasses each, so 3 into 8. I mean, can you imagine the difference? So that many waste, that many disposable landfill item we were able to, divert by a simple intervention of upar se pio. So we really made, for all of our events, we made it a mandate to do upar se pio till pandemic happened. Yeah, pandemic kind of changed many things for us. So just a small snapshot of how the media has responded. Media responded to our work, and till date, we are grateful for these articles because they have a very good Google, search reach, and people still find us through like a Better India article or a Hindu article. So people still find us through this article. So we are really humbled by the very organic response from the press. We have never approached anybody, and they have always featured different aspects of different things that we have done. So, to really bring you to the current picture from the small steel cutlery set to what we are doing today, post-pandemic, because honestly, pre-pandemic, we really thought that, during the pandemic, we really thought that TBC is over. TBC is the Bartan company for the abbreviated form. And we really thought that this is not going to revive. I mean, there is no way we can revive this because at that point in time, the world, the psychology of people, the entire dynamics looked very uncertain. And we accepted it, honestly. I mean, although we thought that, okay, we still have the inventory of so much of steel, we'll see what to do in the future. But during that pandemic period, okay, first wave, second wave, there was a lull. We did some social media posts, but honestly, we did not know how to go about it. We were not prepared. Then pandemic gradually, last year, July, August, September. So those months when things started looking like how it was before, it looked like the previous world. okay, more or less. That is when we started getting incoming calls again. So just because we were a very lean team, we were a very understaffed set of people, and we were still dabbling with the idea of how to scale it to a bigger thing, something bigger. Is this really scalable to that extent? Is it pandemic proof? Is it something that we can take care of without being impacted, or is it something that it can financially sustain, right? I think uh, post COVID would be a wrong statement, because it is still going on, right? Mm, After June, after July, August, uh, there was a big difference in our thought process, in my thought process, because two of my partners had moved to different cities, and uh, Vanilla, my current active partner for our initiative, she moved in, and she's a very young person. She's half my age, and so she brought in that energy, that was missing. That I mean, we were doing something in a certain way, in a certain format, and we had almost given up hope. At that point in time, this girl walks in, and we decide to kind of, so suddenly my own mindscape changed, and I decided to that, okay, fine, we'll start all of this all over again, because calls have started coming in. So right now, what we do is we do pre-event consultation and orientation. And that now that aspect is very important, because while we do an event, we have these different people who are our stakeholders, right? The decor, the catering, the venue people, and the family of the bride and the groom. So all of these people need to be brought on the same table around what we are doing, why we are doing it, and how we will be doing it. So all of these involve elaborate discussions with each stakeholder. We try and explain, to in a very layman language, what is the challenge. So all of these sessions are both educative, awareness creating, as well as we have specific items for them to follow. Like for the catering, we will find out what is the menu and what are the items you're going to replace. So those kind of consultation happen. Uh, Now, eco-friendly gifting. Okay, so eco-friendly gifting, because we may be doing the waste management there, but what about the gifts that are being returned? Do they contain plastic? How will we call an event zero waste if half the things are taken care of and half the things are not taken care of? So we identify all of those opportunities in the course of the event where we can reduce waste. Because when we're actually dealing with the waste in the end, we want that pile to be smaller. The smaller the pile, the better for us to handle the waste. It's easier for us to handle the waste. So we look into those and that entire life cycle of the event, and identify all of those opportunities where we can provide people with alternatives, and we can tell them, okay, not this and this, and why. Now, biodegradable tableware, again, in combination with steel, we have started providing biodegradable tableware, and I have explained how we are going through the process of testing all of them, and how we are actually, working with so many different people to identify the right kind of solution for every event. Because some people do not have budget, some people come with a different constraints. So depending on the location also, for example, we recently did an event in a place called Khammam, outside of Hyderabad. So for that, we needed to do pit composting. So for every event, our solution is different. So we have to consider different factors and then come up with a solution where it is most conducive to that particular event. I'll show you pictures of on-site waste management, how we do it. We typically do zero waste water stations. And the main idea of on-site waste management is segregation. I'll have pictures to show that to you better. We do all types of event, even for small birthday parties to housewarmings, weddings to marathons. Yeah, I mean, we can, while we are doing weddings, we do not want to lose out even on a small birthday party. Because while it is about financial sustainability, it is also very much about the social impact. So birthday parties, we have 10 birthday parties in a month. So collectively, they become as big or maybe half as big as a wedding. So why not? So way ahead for us is, given the fact that we saw that unless we have everybody, that whole process of getting everybody on board, sometimes it gets so laborious and, time and effort intensive. So going forward, what we are thinking is that it makes more sense for us to become an event management company where we are, low waste, where we are conducting these low waste events, where we are organizing everything. And all of these people are on our, on board with us. So Pan India, going Pan India is also on our cards because we have been receiving requests from outside of Hyderabad, and we have been trying to build our team in different places. And since one of the partners is in Bangalore now, so she can set up the base for our organization in Bangalore. And so that word pandemic proof, we really take it seriously because we see that every few months there is a wave and suddenly our business just stops. It just comes to a screeching halt. So we don't want that, because we want to hire people, we want to expand as an organization, and it can only happen when business continues. And so we are looking at consulting restaurants, because while events produce a lot of waste, restaurants and corporates or government offices, these are also huge bulk waste generators. So we plan to get involved in consulting them, giving them low waste solutions and helping them become more sustainable. Okay, so this is a on-site waste management process. I just grabbed a very, basic picture from a very small event. So what we do is we have these different labels for different, different bins, and we guide the people to drop those specific types of waste in their respective bins. So the first picture is of, if you see, is of plastic bottles. I specifically wanted to put this picture here. Okay, ignore the wet waste 71 kgs and dry waste 21 kgs and all that. I just grabbed one of our social posts for this one. So there are times when we have to compromise on. So plastic bottles are something that we do not want to use. We do not want to use 200 ml plastic bottles where people take a sip or two and they just throw it away. That use and throw issue with plastic bottles, plus the fact that it is plastic and it is always downgraded. It is never a plastic bottle does not turn into a plastic bottle. It's always downgraded into some other product. So we avoid plastic, but there have been events where, because of the pandemic, people have preferred to have plastic bottles, and we have obliged, but with the clause that we will be collecting each and every one of them, and we will be sending it to the recycler. So we collect these. We have two partners right now. We work with two organizations. One is Ahuja Engineering, and the other is Waste Ventures. Okay, this is how the waste looks like. I just wanted to show a couple of pictures. So, the waste is segregated when we, again, after our segregation, again, they do their own segregation, because we want to put all the biodegradables together. But depending on where it is going, like for a biogas station, this is the biogas plant. If you can see, it's a digester. So this this green slurry is from banana leaves. So events where we have a lot of banana leaves, they want to make a slurry out of that, and they use it for the, cooking. The gas is used for cooking or for lighting bulbs. So depending on where we are sending the waste, is it Waste Ventures where waste is composted? Is it Ahuja Engineering where they turn it into biogas? So depending on that, we do another level of segregation. I mean, depending on who it is going to, our segregation bins will be different. So this is where it goes for composting, and the dry waste goes for recycling. So the wet waste or the biodegradable waste is either composted or turned composted, and it becomes manure. What we take from the soil is we put it back in the soil, or it turns into biogas, where it is used for electricity and cooking. The dry waste, as and when we collect it, we collect very little dry waste in most of our events, but there are plastic bottles. Whenever it is collected, it is sent for recycling. We're not happy to talk about recycled products, but it is a fact, and it is a reality of our times where people use plastic. And so what the best we can do is we try to put every plastic back to the value chain. It comes back to the value chain, it becomes different products. So I wanted to share something about one small one series of weddings. So this is just one event. Okay, this is the last slide. Sorry about the order. Engagement, wedding, and reception. This is the order actually. So typically in an event, there are so many other events, right? I mean, typically in a wedding, there are so many multiple, like there is a mehendi, there's a sangeet. So this event was minimalistic. They were mindful of what all they are celebrating and how, and they engaged us throughout. And just to give you an idea about the potential waste that can be saved per event, I have just put these details for you. Like a typical sample size of 500 guests. Okay. It is around 70 kgs of biodegradable waste. It is around 700 plus each of non-biodegradable disposables. And the middle picture I'm talking about, sorry. So it is unavoidable recyclable waste, where I put around 1,000 bottles, because 500 people will just take a bottle, sip, and just throw it away. So two bottles per person, right? So if you just take a look at this whole image once, you will know that you will just understand potentially how much of waste an event generates, and how much and what opportunity it is. So waste is not waste until it is wasted. As I just shown you, the waste was getting converted into electricity. It was getting converted into fuel, right? It was getting converted into manure for gardens, for public gardens, for society gardens. So how is that something that one can throw away? So we do not look at waste like that at all. I mean, we literally look at waste, and we think, we kind of think that how can we use it? The moment we see waste, that is the instantaneous reaction. How can you turn it into something magical? So post pandemic, it has been a good response for us. We have done 6 events, and we're very happy to share that, because 6 weddings, sorry, apart from the smaller events that we have been a part of. Because post, I mean, the whole thing is, it was an assurance that even though there may be a pandemic, even though there may be a disruption in the things that were, but we see a bigger consciousness and awareness around the environment. It's very pronounced, and it's very, it's very, it's for everybody to see. One thing we have noticed is that there is a bigger shift towards disposables, but we will still look away right now, because the COVID, although they say that the retention of the COVID virus on different surfaces is different, still has not yet been on the still is not on the good side of these reports. So people are preferring biodegradables, and we are kind of moving ahead with the time, and we are saying that, okay, fine, as long as you are conscious about your footprint, as long as you are willing to compost your waste, And even if you're not composting it, we kind of guide them to pit composting, where they can identify some spot next to their homes, and they can just dig a pit and put all the biodegradables inside and just cover it up with soil. So we have been guiding people to do that as well. I think we can take a pause here, and just because I'm not able to see anybody and I don't know what you guys are doing, so let me just take a pause here and just see if we have some questions.
Okay. Are we planning to take questions now, Ms. Nidarshana, or should we do?
Yeah, because the next slide would be my last slide, where I'll talk about the learnings, Mr. Ganesh.
Okay.
So I think we can discuss a couple of things, because
Sure.
also because I cannot see anybody. So I'm keen to hear from people on what they have kind of understood, or what their feedback, or what their review is.
Yeah. So students, please feel free to ask questions or your viewpoints. You can either raise your hand and then talk, or you can type in your questions in the chat box, whichever is okay with you. So meanwhile, I have a question, Ms. Nidarshana.
Sure.
So what is your revenue model? I mean, are you predominantly the revenue comes from, consult people pay for taking your services, or through the waste which you handle? And because like you said, waste per se itself is something which has a lot of value. So right now, what is your major source of revenue?
So, Mr. Ganesh, the waste that we deal with is mostly biodegradable waste, and biodegradable waste does not have a value, I mean, financial value. Only dry waste, which is plastic. Plastic waste is something that is, something that we can get paid for. But we have never generated so much of plastic that we can consider that as a revenue model at all. So our revenue comes from the consultation that we do, and from the actual service that we provide. There are some questions coming in here. We'll take them. From the service that we provide. So on-site management has a cost. Consultation has a cost. Post-event waste processing has a cost, because collecting all that waste, for example, decor waste. Collecting decor waste is a big challenge. So, I forgot to mention about one organization called Holy Waste. All the floral waste is sent to this organization to be turned into incense and soaps. So as and when we can, and also we use our floral waste to make cleaners, bioenzymes. So natural cleaners is a product that we sell later. So yeah, I mean, those revenue streams, and we are also selling biodegradables now to restaurants and to events where there are people. The size of the people is so much that we cannot serve them with steel. So we are moving to biodegradables in those scenarios.
Good. I have a few more questions, but I will take students' questions now, and then probably I'll come later. So there are a couple of questions from students. Yeah, there is one question from Tanmay. He's asking, does your company work in collab with other event management organizations? For instance, if it is a huge event and they would like to employ your services but want their own event manager and stuff.
Yeah. We have done that. So we have spoken to a couple of event management companies who understand what we do, because our work is very different, and it mostly. So we may want to say that change the decor. We may want to say that change the menu. So those kind of independence will, that kind of leeway only they will be able to give us only when they understand what we're doing. Right? So we cannot just work with any event management company, because they will not listen to us. So we have to be very particular, and those who are on board, or those who are aligned to our belief process, we have been looking at collaborating with them. But yeah, in future, I think you can expect us to become an event management company where we want to do this ourselves. But till then, we are collaborating. Yeah.
Okay. So Sarthak, his question is the model of your startup inspired by any from outside India, or is it completely novel and no such organization exists in the world?
Yeah, this is a tricky question actually, because see, the cutlery bank concept is not something that is looked at as a business model, right? It's more of a social initiative. But now the way that we are scaling, and so right now we are still in that transition phase, where we are becoming a different type of organization. So if I see 6 months down the line, I'm most the idea of an event management company would be the best way to define our startup. So if you look at it, there are 2 3 other organizations in India. There's something called Scrap Zero Waste, which does work which is very similar to what we are doing. But I think, so far as I understand, they started like that. They started with that model itself. We are graduating from something else and going towards that something, towards an organization like that. And we will continue to be different in, because Scrap mainly focuses on corporates, but we have this huge homepreneur plus gated community ecosystem that we work with, and we want to continue working with them. So yeah, Scrap and Sahas Zero Waste. Sahas Zero Waste is, again, they work a lot with bulk waste generators, where they consult organizations like Microsoft, and they provide solution for their bulk waste that they generate. So it is more of a uh, not really event based, but more of a bulk waste uh, management solution kind of an organization, but similar to what we do or want to do.
Okay. So
Do you have
Madhuri's question. Yeah, Indra, yes, you can go ahead.
Hello, ma'am. This is
Hi.
Indira from Department of Entrepreneurship. So I'm working as a
Sure.
PhD scholar here. I have a couple of questions based on your company, the Berthin company. So when I looked upon your website, the first question is the products that you have listed, the biodegradable or the sustainable products that you have listed, are they manufactured by your company, or you take it from third party vendors like the bamboo products from Assam, or how exactly do you go about the products that you are giving? The first one.
So no, Indira, we do not manufacture. For my store, which is, again, a solo initiative, where and since it's a solo initiative, I did not really talk about it in this session today. For my store, I make couple of products at home, and I work with a lot of homepreneurs, and I really like working with the homepreneurs, and I keep mentioning that over and over again, because of the fact that they small people like us make small quantities, and there is more probability of the quality being superior, and the product being better when it is made in small quantity. The moment a product is commercialized, there are the quality, and there are many things which are compromised. So yes, we do make some of the products for the store, but for Bartan company products like bagas, for example, no, we do not have the facility to make bagas plates. So bagas is sugarcane waste, okay, made from sugarcane waste. So it's like tons of sugarcane waste is collected from sugar factories. So it's like a big industry in itself, bagas manufacturing, or the Vistaraku plates that you see, Vistaraku, or I don't know what would you call it, but the leaf plates that you see. All of these are separate manufacturing units, and we collaborate with these people.
Okay. And next question is related to your way forward. So you said way forward you want to collaborate with restaurants and other parties. So I wanted to ask, like in present generation, more than what we eat in restaurant, the culture of home delivery, food delivery started. So do you also want
Exactly.
to focus on the biodegradable nature of the food packaging system? The
Yeah, that is
because there's a
exactly
lot
what
of
we
way.
want to focus on. Yeah.
Okay.
So the pattern, the way we consume food has changed. I mean, after the pandemic, it has changed even more drastically. So food delivery, if you just look around, the moment you order from a Swiggy, you are bound to see plastic. Okay, and these are soft plastics. So in July this year, there's a government regulation coming up. Now I mean, although every time there's a government mandate or a policy change that comes up, we get very excited, but down the line, few months, we see that it is not getting implemented. So although, so it's upon us actually, for people like us to implement, for people like you to follow, right? So yes, we are specifically looking at food delivery. We're looking at the soft plastics. We're looking at those multi-layered plastics. So we are trying to see what could be the alternative. So when I say we're trying to see, because there are so many innovative products which are coming up, and we will not believe, there are some products uh, which are being tested and which are being made in labs, but they never get to see the light of the day. So we want to really find out which are those products which are, because we know the market, we are creating a market. Okay, so we want to tap into and identify those products here. So research is going on.
Okay, ma'am. And the last question, that will be last. So I
Sure.
wanted to ask way forward, how do you want to put a sustainable footprint on your logistics side, since you're also focusing on the corporate gifting, so you will have to send it to the customers, or even with the cutlery bank that you will have to send it. So in the logistic part, how do you want to put your sustainable footprint?
Yeah, sure. Good question. So we have tied up with this organization. Okay, they have e-scooters. So in places like Bangalore and all, the e-scooters or the e-vehicles are even more, far more popular. But in Hyderabad, it's still picking up. And because of that deliveries model, we have been able to lower our footprint. But having said that, we are very happy to do hyper local. Okay, so we have tied up with organizations like Trice. So Trice app is it's a small app that you install on your mobile, and you can deliver to your immediate community. Like even when you within your gated community, you have, like my gated community has 730 apartments. So many a time somebody from, say, K block, I'm in A block, right? Somebody from K block wants to order something. Even that
Yes.
becomes, people would be happy to place an order through an app, to do something like that. So yeah, that is for my products, for the store products and for biodegradables, we are using that. But for utensils, see, the challenge with utensils is that it has to be washed and returned. So when,
Yes.
typically now the model is where people come, pick products from point A, deliver at point B. Now taking it back to point A is something
Yes.
that these aggregators will have to, we have to really figure out how they can do this, because the system already exists. We just have to integrate it to accommodate what we are trying to do. But
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
we do want to do that. Yeah, it's on the cards.
Nice. Thank you very much, ma'am, and best of luck.
Thank you so much, Indira.
Yeah. Madhuri's question in the chat box. Ma'am, initially, how did you approach these waste ventures or others? How initially you collaborated and began, and how did you get your first event?
Okay. Yeah. So, Madhuri, I think I would say that um, it's a lot of social media time. A lot of social media time, which is, otherwise can be spent in just, looking at reels. But we try to do a lot of networking over there. So every time we post something, we have some kind of reaction from somebody online. So social media has been a great help for us to network, form that network. Apart from that, we have met different people in different, meetings, like offline meetings, and they are aware of what we do. Okay, so yeah, I think I would mention one thing over here. So being an entrepreneur, being anybody who wants to do anything, okay, I think not having any shame to ask, to request for help has really worked for me. I mean, in my team, every time there is something that somebody, we have to kind of request somebody, they always push me, because I don't feel that shame. I do not feel any shame to say that, okay, please help us do this. We do not, like, we cannot do everything. So how can we build a ecosystem where we are all dependent on one another, because we are all looking at the same direction with the same vision. So waste ventures or an ahuja engineering, these are not people who I had always known. I approached them. I told them that this is what we are doing, and we need your help. We cannot do all of these things on our own. So, and people are good. People are always willing to help. So yes, they have been helping us. Like for example, from our last event, we had such multiple types of waste, and this is just a biogas station, and this person was kind enough to take all of that, and just for us, he's actually experimenting with like how to process bamboo paper, how to process cornstarch paper, cornstarch tumblers, how to process birch wood spoons. So these are different types of biodegradables we deal with. And this person is trying to see how best can these be processed. So yes, these people are very good people. The ecosystem is very, very good, where they're willing to experiment and find new solutions together. Yeah, so that is how our initially we collaborated and it began. And how did we get our first event? I think it's all happened word by mouth. For the first time, we have we have somebody on board. She's over here, Apurva. Hi, Apurva. We have somebody who has joined us in our social media team, and for the first time we will be doing outbound marketing, where we will post very aggressively about the work that we do, because we are now at a stage where we want to make the business financially sustainable. So like a wave comes and we stop work, it cannot happen. We have to continue. So so I think word by mouth and the goodwill from people, like all of the people who have worked with us, or people who the recent weddings, for example. So these people, imagine in a wedding, a bride has so much on her head. She has, upar se, you have the social pressure that, oh, what will the in-laws think? What will the relatives say? For that bride, it's always the bride who approaches us. We have never had the groom approaching us somehow. I don't know how that happens. It's always the bride. So that bride, for that, courage, for the bride to have that courage to take a stance that, okay, I want my wedding to be eco-friendly. I want it to be mindfully celebrated. So imagine the kind of courage she will come with. And, when that kind of thing comes in front of us, like we do everything to support her. Okay, so all of these people become our ambassadors, brand ambassadors. So now they will talk to somebody else. The people who come to our events, they will see us, they will take our numbers. So that is how it has happened. It has always been inbound, and yeah, but we want to see, outbound also we want to do now and see what happens. How did you start? Yeah.
So there's the last. Yeah. It's similar to, I think, the earlier question.
Right.
Namita's question is, about laws. She's asking whether stricter laws will make it more easier. Or even the earlier question, Karthik's question, if you have anything more to say.
How did you start? Yeah, I think it's similar to what I have just spoken about. But how did we start on that? I think I've already covered that in my slides, where we started as a very, it was just a social initiative, honestly. It was not at all planned to be a business, like an entrepreneurial model. It was just out of our pure passion and desire to decrease the footprint of home parties. That is how we started. To what extent the government initiatives like solid waste management legally bound people for sustainable ways of living? What are your opinions? Should there be stricter laws or implementation? Yeah. See, I'll tell you what, Namita. There are policies. There are many policies and mandates, actually. If you open that whole book, like, for example, very small example, when plastic, the soft plastic bag, that you see, that carry bag, right? The very thin one, when it is actually banned, but do you stop seeing it? You still see it, right? So when the government mandate came in to ban that, immediately there was another product which came. I will not have anything, but I can just show you this. This is a mask, okay? It's not a mask that I use, but this material, this is a plastic material, right? Immediately, the moment that plastic was banned, this product was introduced in the market. This non-woven PPE, polypropylene bags were introduced, and they were being shipped peddled around as cloth bags. Even now, if you go to a shop and if you say that, oh, no, I don't want plastic bag, and if they hand this over to you, a small shopkeeper, he will say it's a cloth bag, madam. So we went to markets to find out that how did this happen? How did a plastic bag, and this is also non-recyclable. This is like a big problem. It's mostly incinerated. So how did this become? What kind of gaps were there? So we realized that there are a lot of gaps. So the government has all the intent, but I think the government needs to now collaborate more with private, organizations. It is actually, but it needs to do it more aggressively, where people like us or organizations like Waste Ventures or Nahuja Engineering, we help with the implementation, or people who are actually working on the ground help with the implementation, because otherwise mandate is one thing and implementation is always another. Yeah, so there are gaps. I don't think I'm not at all happy actually how things are happening. So in July there is another set of rules which are coming up, and we can only do this much, because unless there are fines being imposed, money being involved, people will not listen, is what I feel. And of course regulations around banning these factories where these are being made. Why are these factories not banned yet? Where are these getting made? These factories are paying taxes, right? These manufacturing units are paying taxes. These are all regulated bodies. How are these being, why do these even exist? So yes, there are gaps, and there are many answers which I don't have actually.
Any other questions from student side? Okay. So I have another question, Ms. Nidarshana. So your target audience, like you said, your revenue stream is people who are willing to pay for your consulting services, and like you said, many of them are doing it for a noble cause. When you said brides are the ones who come to you, in fact that is actually proven in research. Women are more eco-conscious and pro-environmental. That's proven. And also this market of eco-conscious consumers are increasing because there are studies which say all the millennials are eco-friendly. But again, in India, can an entire business model ride on that that particular group, even though that group is substantial? How long can it go? Targeting people who are only eco-conscious, and that becomes a sort of minority and an elite group, isn't it? The majority and the ones who look for conserving money or cutting down cost. Ironically, they are wasting, but they also want to cut down cost. So how will we capture that market? Or is it important to do that?
Yeah, it is important to do that, because they are the majority, right? So the target group, or the people that I just spoke about, the people who are willing to help or support. So right now, today, they are the minority group, right? So couple of things that we have been trying to do, or we have been kind of thinking about, like the moment we brand this whole thing as something that is aspirational, when a millennial person goes to social media, there's a lot of bragging value, or that value of wanting to be certain, wanting to maintain a certain social image. So can these events be can these low waste or eco-friendly, conscious, mindful events be branded as aspirational ways of celebrations? Now, having said that, how can we match because we're talking about keeping a budget aside for waste. Now, how can we match that with how can people be comfortable with that when they are not considering this at all? So again, going back to that aspect of, this is the right thing to do, this is the good thing to do, this is the impact. So so every time we have that one person who comes forward, at the end of the event, the entire family is brought into that fold. Entire family will mean relatives, mama, chacha, everybody. So during the course of the event, you would have talked to them, they would have seen what we are doing, and at the end of the event, when they see what has happened, so that again, that touch point is very small, actually, but gradually it's happening. Because see, Ganesh, the hope that I derive from from our work is that till a few years ago, this particular ecosystem only did not exist in front of us. I mean, if I had to organize a eco-friendly wedding, I really do not know who do I go to. I don't know. I mean, what do I do? I don't even know, right? So today there is a solution, and it is actually being it is being received well. I mean, we have numbers to prove that it is being received well. It is growing gradually. I mean, we are getting calls from Bangalore, we're getting calls from Guntur. Khammam is what we did. First even outside of Hyderabad. So I think we have to be patient here, because the impact is so huge that uh, I do not want to specifically and strictly look at the financial or the revenue, the return of investment right now, and be daunted by it, because we are getting there, and when we get into the whole industry of food and events, it's very big. So how can we convert them to conversion? It's the issue of conversion. It's the whole challenge of conversion, which is gradually happening, and I'm hopeful that it will happen another year, and I'm sure I'll be giving very more optimistic and positive numbers to share. I'll have more positive numbers to share.
Okay, yeah, thank you. You said you have one more slide, the final slide to go.
Yeah, so that was just some learnings that I wanted to kind of put across.
So okay, meanwhile, I teach this course, Introduction to Entrepreneurship, in this. So in fact, many of the students here are students from that course. So do you think did you undergo any formal training, or do you think it came as a social cause which drove this into an entrepreneurial venture? Or do you think as an entrepreneur in this area, you need more than intuition and motivation, you need some training? Or if someone needs training, where should they go?
Yeah, I really feel that, Mr. Ganesh, honestly, because I'm more of a social worker, if you ask me. I mean, I am not the person, I do not have that kind of business acumen initially. I mean, initially I did not have that kind of experience or the business acumen to turn an idea, a social impact idea, around into a business. So there are many cohorts, or there are many entrepreneurship programs, actually, and there are a lot more for women, women entrepreneurs, where they get, where women get, or entrepreneurs get training on how to spin a business, what kind of things to look at, how to make a business model, how to present it in front of an investor, and make a 5-year plan, or make it financially, make it do that entire thought process of how to make it financially viable. So those kind of trainings can be received. But while these are there, I believe a mentor would a mentor who knows your work, or who has seen you grow, or believes in your work, I think someone like that is really helpful for entrepreneurs, is what I felt.
Thank you.
Yeah, and many institutes have, like you have your program. There are many MBA institutes also who have specific programs for entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
So
so
last slide.
yeah. So the last slide, I thought I'll just share some learnings with you all, since you all are students, and I felt that I should utilize this opportunity to share a couple of things that I have learned in my last 2-3 years of taking this baby from a stage to next, right? First is dignity of labor, and I really I mean, all of us in the team Burton company feel very strongly about it, because the moment we feel okay, so the whole thing about dignity of labor, it cuts through our ego. Okay, the moment we get down, put our hand in a dustbin and take out, segregate, like plastic, biodegradable ke dher mein plastic aa gaya, we put our hand into it and we take it out. So that act, the small act, every time we do it, it kind of rips our ego, you know another waste worker, or another, the catering person, on the labor person who is there in the hall or who is there in that venue, that person looks at us, and for that moment the person feels good that somebody, who is educated, well dressed, is doing something that we do. So the dignity of labor, I think, in everything that we do, like if you see there are startups which are based around making tea, and they're doing so well. So I don't think there is any job in the world which is like big, small. What needs to be done needs to be done. You just get it over with. You forget about who you are, what you have done, what you have learned. If you can do it, you can be successful, is what I feel. No idea is big or small. I think our initiative is a very pronounced example of this fact. Like many a time, I talk to so many people. Like so many people actually reach out to me, that homemakers actually. I live in a gated community, and I deal with so many homepreneurs. So there are so many home makers who reach out to me just to discuss their idea. And so many times I feel surprised that, wow, this is such a good idea, but the person does not believe in the idea. The person does not want to take it to the next level. The person has this fear, that fear, paise nahi milenge, ye koi kuch bolega. I mean, so unless you try, how will you know? So that idea in your head and actually implementing it, it's actually, there's a big gap. So once you just cross that gap, maybe a year down the line you may fail, but you would know what you are good at or what you are not good at. So there is always learning from there. There are no failures. So third point is social impact is important. So is financial sustainability. So this is something that I have oh, I'm so sorry. Always I learned the hard way, actually, because I was so driven by social impact. I still am. Like, I want to work with the government. Okay, I want to work at the very grassroots level, but I know that there is no money there, but I still want to do it because I'm so driven by social impact. But I saw that if I cannot make the financial, organization sustainable financially, I will not have money. Is like a tool. Money, I need money as a tool to get my work done, get my vision, get closer to my vision. So while for social entrepreneurs, I mean, we are so driven by our need to do good that sometimes we kind of lose that focus. And I think we need to stay close to that, ultimate goal of also, considering where the revenue will come in. Okay, another point around money, following passion with money as an outcome is more sustainable. So, so this thought I got because, while I was doing Bartan Company as a social, stretch initiative, I had also joined one company as a marketing head. And the entire time during that course of that, as during that course of those few months I was with that company, I was just thinking that why I am here. I joined because I was not able to turn my startup ideas into, something more concrete. And I thought that, okay, I should probably work for a few more months and then kind of get back to doing this because I was not going anywhere. So I think that during that, every day I realized that if I'm investing this much of time and effort in pursuing my passion, then my outcome, my success is going to be even nearer. I'll be more successful if I'm passionate about it than doing something so dispassionately. Because for, like I see so many people, like I live with a group where everybody is into IT. I see them doing things where very, very dispassionately. And I feel that all of these people could be somebody else, or somebody where they talk about their dreams, and they talk about what they want to do, like they want to do this and they want to do that. And they're restricted by the fact that they have to bring in this much amount of money and this much. So entrepreneurship itself is a lot of risk. So I feel that risk is worth taking, in this particular context. The risk is worth taking, and the following of your heart is very, very important to be happy while you are successful. That is all I wanted to share.
So we've come to an end of a very engaging session. In fact, we have this project at the end of this entrepreneurship course where the students have to submit an entrepreneurial idea. Many of them come up with an idea which is very close to sustainability, green initiative. There are a lot of students who are interested in this topic, and they are pretty serious about doing something in this area. I hope your talk would have inspired them to, like you said, make this idea into a reality. Take that leap and try it out at least for some time. So in that sense, it was a very, very useful session, and we are very happy to have you here. And probably we will keep this engagement going through other forms of initiatives also. In fact, you asked whether students are interested to intern in your organization. I'll spread the word around.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy to have. Last year we had Prabhat. I think last year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Prabhat was there, and I'm happy to have more students from your organization to intern with us.
Sure. So I'm sure they'll be very happy, and thank you very much for your time, and wish you all the best for your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ganesh. Thank you so much, everybody. It was a very nice. I love the questions. Very, very